It was myself and a few other judges that sat down this year to decide, what screams rain, what screams sidewalk, what screams Worcester, what's gonna make folks that are waiting for a bus, that are experiencing a really dreary day in the city, look down and say, oh my gosh, that's really cool. I'm glad I live here, and what a cool piece of art.
My sister is a poet, so she suffers from MS. And I said, well, why don't you write a poem about the good side of aging? So she did, and about the same time I'd seen this notice about the rain poetry. And I said, well, do you mind if I entered this? And we worked on it back and forth.
My poem is called Goldenrod. When I heard that it was going to be rain focused, I sort of thought about how I felt when I was a kid when it would rain, and it's kind of like that mystical sort of aura and it kind of was when I felt weirdly enough I was most creative. So this is kind of a poem about how when it rains, kids really get out there and they start creating their own little worlds basically.
Initially, I started writing poetry that I felt kind of liberated myself. A couple years later, I was diagnosed with AML leukemia, and so I felt like poetry kind of gave me a way to alleviate some of the stress associated with that journey and pour it into a productive and artful, byproduct, if you will.
I was born and raised in Worcester, Massachusetts, and they told me that when they said rain, the first thing I thought about was death, unfortunately. And all of the friends that I'd lost in the city. So that's what inspired this, was a tribute to those that have died in the city.
So our poem is called Aging in Place. And it was also a reference to Worcester and the art community because there's so much here. The collaboration between my sister and I, she is a published poet out in California. She's really excited that she can say she's a published poet on both coasts now.
So my poem titled The Divine Voices of Worcester, it was an autobiography in a sense, coming from Worcester and looking around and observing the hardship that people face, yet the resilience that people move forward with. I really wanted to write a poem to highlight that spirit and the spirit that so perfectly encapsulates the city of Worcester.
And it's called Goldenrod because it's just a beautiful plant, and I sort of envisioned a bunch of children underneath the goldenrod, safe from the rain, creating their own little worlds, basically.
Ephemeral is the word we like using, which means that it's not going to last forever, which I think makes it a really exciting type of art.
And when we think about ephemeral things, they're typically the things that we care about the most, special moments, people, memories, things that are going to be there tomorrow. Most of all, I want to capture the sense that the spirit of Worcester isn't ephemeral, and it breaks the cycle of the poem itself, and that it'll be there long after my poem diminishes, long after my work is relevant.